Hello, my name is Donald Wilmoth, and I'm happy to be here to tell you a little bit about the book, Godfather of Time. I hope you will set aside my voice. It's very bad because I had cancer and a lot of radiation. So my voice, I hope it's good enough to be understood. I began putting this book together in the end of December 1979. And after getting all of the messages from the world of spirit, I put the book together. I was in communication with Albert Einstein, President John F. Kennedy, Sir Donald Tovey, Dr. Clifford Baylor, physicist, and Mr. Turner, who was an inventor when he was on the earth. This book has its roots in what I call the world of spirit. This world is much different than the one where we live now. This world has been called many, many things. It has been called by many mediums. It's been called the world beyond. It's been called the other side. It has been called the Garden of Eden. And our Lord Jesus simply called it paradise. But we will all make it there one day. We're all destined to go to the same place. When we came to the earth, we were all destined to come to the same place. So we will enjoy meeting our loved ones again and seeing our families again and our friends again. It'll be a very joyous time. In 1979, my wife Barbara, who was probably the most profound medium of the 20th century, began to get an urging to pick up a tablet and speak and write. And the message was for me from a man named Turner. When he was on the earth, he was an inventor. And he was murdered by a medical doctor in the year 1933, the year I was born. And I was amazed and shocked. And he was always available to come through to me and answer my questions and to teach me about things. And one day, Albert Einstein came through, and I was blessed with the ability to communicate with him for a period of 10 years, at which time my wife died of cancer. And so I've always valued the communications that I received from him. One of the first communications that I received from Albert Einstein that really blew me away, because for the first time I could see time for what it really was. Time had always baffled my thinking, and Albert Einstein gave me a way to understand time. His message went as follows: I comprehended time as the most essential quality of a perfect order. It is the absolute, for time does equal infinity, Therefore it is always no beginning, no ending, just being. As a result of this view, I described my personal God for what other essential quality is there in all creation that could not be destroyed and that could be so versatile. When I described time, I was describing the mover of all things and the creator of all things. The process of time, light, and space are relevant to the unified field theory. On August 13th, 1980, I received a communication from Albert Einstein to allow a channel for President John F. Kennedy to communicate with me. Donald Lee, many have seen with the visions of future and all totality as you do, yet many who hear you speak cannot lend their minds but only to present comprehension. A great man of integrity and vision in your time was John F. Kennedy, who will communicate with you shortly. Many sense the divine power this soul had within his being, and the politics in the scientific area blocked him in his search for comprehension for all mankind and put down the space program developed for the future of their existence. I have sensed this man in his time and know what I have said will be helpful to all and also help him with his lift upward. President John F. Kennedy came through. In your time now, the political scene is vastly changing. All cover-ups are being brought to light, and not by chance. All mankind must back the space program, or your future is in time and space. I know now why I had to serve as your president, where my purpose was to pave the way for many times and many discoveries of the vastness of space in this burst of spiritual guidance. I can see many cures for disease, advancement in technology of medical machinery, and also new energy sources for the destiny of your time to meet the needs as they arise. Our divine God has put all this within our reach, but man must put out his hand. Among my own I was feared, and they sought to silence me, yet they only brought into being the future of my purpose. I can still serve in this time, just as Jesus still does. I may not be able to channel through my learned friend again, but I thank him for this opportunity. There are others in the future awaiting me in your time. I will enlighten them as we all want to serve God and humanity. Think not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Serve God and you will serve all mankind. My vision, the vision I see, can free all men from limits of time to a world with no end. Dreams of a future, no blood in its wake, unlimited sources for all to partake. The vastness of space explored in our minds, or visions of future to loosen man's minds, the vision to see God's expressed plan to spiral in time and space that's at hand. John F. Kennedy. Donald, one more thought. Awareness is the path to time and space. The medium who was able to get the messages to me from the other world was named Barbara Alice Wilmoth. She was born in Los Angeles, August the 8th, 1936. Her and her brother were skating on the sidewalk one day. Thank God she had the gift of mediumship, even at her early age, because she grabbed him and told him not to skate down by the liquor store because it was going to be robbed. So they watched while two men got out of the car, went in and robbed the liquor store and killed the owner. So she saved her own life as well as her brother's life. She told me about the whereabouts of Patty Hearst when she was kidnapped in Linwood, California. I later found out that was true. She told me where the SLA were hiding out in South Los Angeles and told me that the place was going to be burnt to the ground. That was true. I watched that on television. She told me about a passenger plane that was leaving an airport in New York that was going to crash into a river of ice. That happened. I watched that on TV. She told me of the rings around Saturn many years before they were discovered. She was very profound. And she only got better as she got older. She never blew her own horn, so to speak. She would never go on television or radio or be interviewed by anybody. Nobody even knew of her gifts except family and friends. And she kept herself pretty well hidden from the world in that sense. Albert Einstein wanted to give a little note to the world. So I put this note from Albert Einstein in the front of the book. He says, "I am delighted at this time to communicate with the world of matter. I thank Donald and Barbara for this opportunity to speak. I must say to the world that my dream was to unify all the forces of nature and not to leave a gift of destruction. I can at this time leave a legacy of service. Time, in a sense, can be understood if all aspects of its versatile nature were taken into consideration. Many view time as the factor, but it is not. The factor or fact of the whole matter is phase and subject to its potential. So phase and potential are the basis for the nature of time. So with this we have cause and effect and all aspects of time and the way it expressed itself. Because all is divided from a whole, which is the totality, we call this the sum of infinity, Now we have the universe as time, the whole itself, known as infinity, extending all aspects of creation to sequence, or the passing of time. Sequence will give cause to the whole. Now, cause is the effect of time, equal creation. In all aspects of creation, we have time as the whole. Time passes through creation as the universe, and this should explain the totality of all time. The universe encompasses all natures of a system of one, and this is the universal God consciousness, which is time and space, and is a whole, single, formless, and soundless universe, because we are the moving systems within this unmoving consciousness. The absolute life essence is, of course, the universe as the being state of existence. To say that God is the universal soul life force can now be understood, and is a part of each and every system of expression. For as we spiral into all time, we will know being, for this is the essence of the universe, the soul of an essential quality. Now I must make clear this, that the all-powerful and all-knowing personal God is the whole universe as being, the animator of life as time, for God is seen in time and space, and this is the universe, the totality of all creation with all its systems, which were always here as were God. Within the mind of man are two consciousnesses, the consciousness of physical life and the consciousness of spiritual being. The mind must discover the spiritual consciousness, and the spiritual consciousness does give light to the physical consciousness and allows it to comprehend. Man in the flesh is a consciousness of ego or self-image, but in the spiritual consciousness of man is the God-likeness. In the spiritual time on earth, our spiritual consciousness of the soul, the mind, and the spiritual body are the spiritual soul life force. This could be called a quickened spirit, or the spiritual, or the time is a faster motion than we know in our allotted time, for we pass into a compressed time all at once. On earth, our physical time is allotted. By this, I mean we are subject to years, and the flesh is aged. But in spiritual time, which I believe to be shortened or a quickened time, one does not age, but grows in wisdom. For this is the garden of spiritual growth. In the physical world, we grow physically a body from infancy to old age, and also is a learning process. But in the spiritual aspect of time, we seek divine wisdom. This is a sort of simultaneous life pattern right here on earth, but different times. one not being conscious of the other. In the realm of psychic phenomenon, there are many encounters with the spiritual time, and some are highly in tune to this existence. For instance, Jesus, who was the greatest psychic and mystic of all times. I believe if the scientific world looked further into psychic phenomenon, we would know more about unidentified flying objects. I will now speak more about the simultaneous life on Earth. There is a measure or a dimension of time in two parts, therefore being separated and divided, a sort of separating the waters from the waters, but still giving life substance, and spiritual time is separated also, but in another sense. These times I sometimes call spheres or planes. I call them spiritual consciousnesses or other dimensions of time, all in a sense emanating from the absolute time and from one place. The spiritual consciousness passes in quickened time to the spheres in which they are comfortable. Many can sense the souls of this time or dimension and can communicate just like from the physical plane to the spiritual world. Some call this clairvoyance or psychic, but I call this being in tune with the higher consciousness of creation. Above the heavens are absolute time, infinity, and the state of existence above, meaning to me as something being higher than. The higher abode of a God consciousness, man must develop in time. The soul and the spirit are in rhythm with each other and with time. You see the physical aspects of one's experience. We have not developed the ear to hear. I believe man must attune himself to the spiritual existence. I have heard stories before that at the moment of death is heard a trumpet or sound of some kind. I believe this to be the frequency of the spiritual time. One must listen with the inner ear, that is the spiritual part of man. Everything created operates in a rhythmic frequency, whether it is physical life or spiritual life. All aspects of creation are set to time. I believe this to be the rhythmic frequency and the consciousness of God and absoluteness that without time becomes soundless and formless. So we are in a state of being and stay put, so to speak. Many aspects of time will be covered and uncovered throughout infinity in a never-ending world. Keep in mind the clock in a rhythmic movement that gives us many times. This will help you develop the thinking of the higher senses or abstract thought. Time is divided in the physical plane 12 hours to a day, 12 hours to a night, months and years, yet they're all one time. My work in this scientific revelation, as was ordained, transcended me to the world of spirit. My spiritual consciousness created thoughts of abstract views and ideas, and my perpetual barrier was unlimited and unveiled. The process of time, light, and space are relevant to the unified field theory. This structure of matter and its interchangeable and interaction qualities to combine and condition a uniformed existence of an essential quality. The divine aspects of this new order to humanity, a divine understanding of a multi-dimensional universe where all things are relative and all data points to a divine order. Some in higher places then and now refused to enlighten via the Spirit, but all mysteries come to light through the realm of the world of spirit and the world of matter. It is my hope, as well as my dream, that this brief note aids man in his left upward. Shalom, Albert Einstein. Every man and every woman who is born on the earth is born for a purpose from heaven. They volunteer to come here to fulfill some purpose. Once we're here, we've forgotten all about that purpose. That's the bad thing. But as we go through life, if we're lucky, we begin to understand and see that something is guiding us through this life. My purpose in this life was to establish communications between our world and the world of spirit. And I have fulfilled that purpose. I'm very happy about that. And this book is a result of fulfilling that purpose.